I have to get out of these contacts. Sometimes I think I'm so pretty. Hi y'all, this is Jace, she, they, and you have found Jace Reads Romance, a community dedicated to empowering women about sex and sexuality through the reading of romance novels, and read them I do. So here is everything that I read from January 27th through February 2nd. You can get your comfy sexy on, get your emotional support water bottle or beverage container of choice, and get ready because I read 5 books in that week. 2 of these books were physical, 2 digital, and 1 audiobook. Let's get started. Remember back in December when I got to read Her Very Spicy Christmas by Theodora Taylor, and I said, I wish she would write one for every holiday? Well, I got to read an arc of Her Very Sexy Valentine, also by Theodora Taylor. Y'all, do not sleep on Theodora Taylor. She is incredible. These 2 are amazing. You do have to read Her Very Spicy Christmas to understand Her Very Sexy Valentine, because Holly, the FMC in Her Very Sexy Valentine, is the sister of Noelle from Her Very Spicy Christmas. Holly hasn't heard from Noelle in weeks and thinks, this isn't okay. I got a phone call that you were on your way after your boyfriend dumped you, and then I got a phone call that you were hiding out in a Canadian mountain town with some new boyfriends, and it's all good because you're forever about it, and then I haven't heard from you for weeks. No thanks. So she drives to the teeny tiny mountain town to find Noelle. She shows up at the Mountie station. Mountie is rude as fuck, and then she goes to the bar next door to get food and ask a few questions. When she walks in there, 2 dudes start a fight over her. Mountie shows up, takes him away, and she says, well, I'm gonna go look for my sister anyway. I've been scared off by this Mountie. I've had 2 dudes fight over me. I don't care. I'm gonna go by myself into the woods to try and find my sister. Bad news bears, and bears there are, because 2 dudes from the bar, 2 biker dudes, follow her into the woods, and who has to save her but the Mountie, who shows up as a bear and saves her from the other dudes and then bites her. Just a lot of non-consensual biting happening in these 2 stories, but it's a mate thing. They are scent matches. You can't help yourself. This story is a lot more dysfunctional than Her Very Spicy Christmas. So the rom-com-y feeling of that one doesn't exist here. Holly has had a terrible divorce. She's been verbally abused and taken advantage of by her ex. The men in this mall, the 3 men who are involved together, they have their own baggage, from family to wrong side of the law to accidentally being turned into a bear. Y'all, it's a lot. It's a lot. And so the emotions are much more heightened in this situation. There's a lot more emotional baggage that everybody's kind of dealing with. I should tell you who the men are. Dakota, Hawk, and Leaf. Very Canadian in lots of different ways. And the way that these malls work is there's usually a 1, 2, 3 hierarchy. Dakota is the 1, Hawk is 2, Leaf is 3. And even though there's no crossing of swords in these situations, Hawk develops a bit of a topping of Leaf and Holly that I have to say I was not mad about. These novellas are incredibly spicy. There is a lot of spice for what's happening. As I said, there are 3 menfolk and 1 womanfolk in this situation, and they're breeding. They're there to breed, for her to go into estrus to create a cub. That's the point. Because of the higher emotional state that these 3 are in, there's a little more drama when it comes to their relationship as well. So if you read Her Very Spicy Christmas and thought it would be the exact same tone, it's not. It's kind of like how Butcher and Blackbird was really funny in its humor, and even though it was a dark comedy, it was still a comedy, and Leather and Lark felt a lot heavier, way more romantic suspense and agony than the first one. That's kind of what you'll find here, except they're holiday novellas and they involve bear shifters and biting and estrus, and it was great. I hope that we get a very sexy Memorial Day. I'm on the lookout for it. So if you see it, if you've seen something and I haven't yet, please put it in the comments because I need to know. Because this was an arc, I can't share any of my favorite quotes yet. At some point, I probably should go through the finished book and see if any of that aligns. But until then, you're just going to have to take my word on it. The next book I read was actually an audiobook. It is Wisteria by Adalyn Grace, and this is book 3 in the Belladonna series. So spoilers for the first 2 books. Sorry, not sorry. This is book 3. You can speed up. At the end of Foxglove, Blythe thwarted Aris's plan to marry Signa by putting her own blood and her own signature on the tapestry, essentially binding them in magical marriage together. So he and Blythe, who hate each other, are now married. Aris is the embodiment of fate. He has his own powers, and he believes that Signa is the reincarnation of his lost wife, the embodiment of life. He has been searching for her for centuries. He thought Signa was her. Signa has never believed she's her. And now feels like she has been taken from him yet again by his brother because of Blythe. She and Aris get for real married, much to the shock of everybody, because Aris is pretending to be a prince and her dad just got let out of prison after being cleared of this murder charge. It feels kind of like she's absconded away with by Aris. She moves into Wisteria, which is his castle, which is a crumbling facade. There's no heat. She doesn't have a bedroom or a mattress or servants or food, and they work so hard to make each other miserable. The magic that binds them means that they can't really be apart, so they're pulled back to one another if they try to leave. It is hysterical. The banter and the hatred. It is a real, like, loathe to love, enemies to lovers situation. They are at odds with each other. As the story progresses, some things that cannot be explained start to happen. Blythe starts to wither. She starts to get sick. She turns to Aris for help. They're trying to figure it out. They develop feelings. They go on adventures together. They get to know one another. Signa and Death are side characters in this book, trying to help from afar, but really they can't be involved in the bigger story. Like everything else, it's gothic, it's new adult, it's mystery, it's a little bit suspensey. I feel like this was the book that had the spice that was the most well described, which really isn't saying anything because all the books have been incredibly light spiced. The first book, I wasn't even sure they had sex. It was so lightly described. I was like, that could imply intercourse, but I can't actually point to a single word that says specifically intercourse. So you got me there. And this one felt a little bit spicier, but not by much. Overall, I enjoyed this series. I liked where it landed. Would I run back to listen to it? Not really. I know the twists and turns. It felt young, but I'm also not the biggest new adult fan. I prefer adults doing adult things, quite honestly. But for a new adult book series, it was good. I liked the audiobooks. They were all narrated by the same actress. She played everyone, which, while some people might not like hearing a woman make a man's voice, I find that if I'm not getting a duet style audiobook or a full cast audiobook, a single narrator is best for me to listen to because at least I'm getting a consistent experience of the voices throughout the book. So that was my completion of that trilogy. The next book I read was That Prince Is Mine by Jayci Lee, and I'm not going to talk much about this because this was the book club podcast episode in February. And I know we're a little bit late, but there's no reason to have me talk about this for just a little bit if you can go to that podcast episode and listen to me and Caitlin talk about it a lot. Just to recap, what did I write down for it? Secret Prince, slow burn, rom-com takes place in California, and it is adorable. It's adorable. Really sweet, really fun, and you can hear all about it on the book club episode of Jayci Reads Romance that came out on Valentine's Day. I think we're a little bit later than that here now, so it came out on Valentine's Day. Enjoy. The next book I read is The Proposal by Sonora Reyes. They have written primarily young adult and new adult. I believe this is their first adult romance, and I read it in anticipation of Love Y'all, where they were one of the opening speakers. Great conversation. I adored this story. This was a queer awakening, friends to lovers, fake but not engagement marriage of convenience, and it hit heavier. It dealt with some really heavy things. So Han and Kenny have been best friends since elementary school, even though they've never dated. Han is definitely straight. Kenny is openly bisexual, but has dated only this one girl. They are such close best friends that they were voted most likely to get married in high school. They live together. They're incredibly close. Han is here illegally in the United States, and he thought his job was going to sponsor him, and at the beginning of this book, he gets fired. So he is now up a creek without a paddle, absolutely terrified about what's going to happen next with his status, with his ability to stay here. He's been here illegally since he was a child, so he doesn't even consider Mexico his home. That's a huge part of this process. Kenny has been with the same girl, Jackie, since high school, and she is abusive, like straight up abusive, physically, emotionally, verbally, all of it. And at a certain point, gives Kenny the ultimatum, me or Han, and Kenny chooses Han, which shows you just how much they care for each other. So he's dealing with the breakup from Jackie. He witnesses the agony that Han is going through about his status, and he goes, let's get married. Let's do it. Let's tell everyone that I broke up with Jackie, and then suddenly we realized we are perfect. We are in love. Let's do it. We're getting engaged. We're going to get married, and I will sponsor you, and I will save you because I love you, and I cannot imagine my life without you. It's really beautiful. As they enter into this fake marriage of convenience situationship, they realize they're going to have to kiss in public. Kenny and Jackie were very PDA friendly. Kenny and Han are going to have to be full of PDA, so they have to practice kissing, which awakens a lot of feelings in both of them. Kenny, he knows he's bi, he knows he also is attracted to men, but Han has a lot of reckoning to do with his own apparent attraction to men and attraction to Kenny, his best friend in the whole wide world. And one of the things that Han does for Kenny, because Kenny has just let Jackie steamroll him for years. He's a people pleaser, he wants to care for people, but he never allows himself to be happy, is just make his own decisions. What does he like? There's this beautiful moment where Han empowers Kenny to get the color of curtains he wants. How did I not highlight the color of the curtains? They're dealing with all of these feelings, this fake marriage. How are they going to have this happen? What are they going to do? How do they care for each other? How do they bring out the best in each other? And then Jackie comes out and throws down some information. Like, there's some plot twists that I actually don't want to ruin for you. I know. Shocking. And let me just say, she is the villain of the story. She is the villain. I hate that abuse happens, but we never talk about how women can abuse as well. And so knowing the signs and acknowledging it and understanding that abuse is abuse, it doesn't matter gender-wise, that it is not okay and it has nothing to do with you being a good enough partner. I'm glad that it was shown, but I'm sad that it does exist in the world. These two are an incredible couple, and they love each other so much, and they build each other up. I should also mention that Han is autistic, and Sonora Reyes talks about how he stims and how he feels in crowds and things of that nature, and how he relates to other humans. And it is certainly not every person with autism's experience, but I like that we're getting diverse experiences. Not everyone with every mental disorder experiences it the same way. So if you read this and you said, that's not my experience with autism, absolutely, totally valid. It isn't. This is not everybody's experience with autism. This is Han's experience with autism. So just remember that this is not a blanket experience for all people with this mental disorder. It is just this one person's story with this mental disorder, and that the people and the way people are vast and the way people experience things are vast. I also loved that Kenny is kinky. My only complaint is we don't really see Kenny get to be kinky. He introduces Han to a little bit of kink, and they have a fantastic conversation about consent and safe words and what's going on and how do they keep people safe and how do they talk about things and experience stuff together for the first time. I loved it. You can't say that there's a black backpack full of kink stuff and then not let us play with the backpack full of kink stuff. That truly is like the only thing that I'm mad at. I want it. Just She's gonna leave it there? She's gonna leave the backpack there? Apparently so. Okay, example 1. The moment I knew that Jackie was gonna be the villain. Almost immediately. She was the type of girl who made fun of Kenny for being soft and expressing his feelings like a woman. She's terrible. But I also understand, like, exactly the kind of villain she is from that sentence alone. Why did you say he's straight? Because he is, Jackie said through gritted teeth. I'm not, though, Kenny said, shifting uncomfortably. We've been over this, babe. Jackie rolled her eyes. Of course you are. You're with me, and I'm a woman, so you're straight. I can't even say that with a straight face. It's awful. Awful. With Han, though, it was a different story. I still wanted to make him happy, but I never had to put myself second to do it. If you're a people pleaser, like that just hits you right in the heart. There is practice kissing. This book just made my heart sing. It was a really wonderfully done romance of these two humans, and I know that this book was years in the making, but reading it at this time in the United States feels really poignant. And so if you are someone who maybe doesn't live or hasn't had experience with humans who are dealing with the immigration stuff that's going on right now, read this book, because it will give you insight into what it feels like to live in that fear every day. I think it's a really important book to read at this moment, especially if you haven't had any firsthand experience with what's happening right now. The last book I read was Winter by Marissa Mayer. This was a library book, and I don't have it physically with me anymore. I'm sorry, but it's massive. It's 800 pages because it is the culmination of all the books in the Lunar Chronicle series. It is book 4 officially, and it not only has to wrap up the 3 couples from the first 3 books, each book adds another couple. This book also adds a couple. Cinder and Kai, Scarlet and Wolf, Cress and Thorn, and Winter and Jason. If you haven't read the first 3 Lunar Chronicles book, this is going to be very confusing. Also, if you, like me, are thinking you have to read Fairest, you shouldn't. It was terrible. If you haven't seen my review on that, it was not great. Don't read it. You can skip it. Just the 4 main books. But they are all on Lunar trying to stop the wedding. Kai was kidnapped by Cinder and her cohort at the end, and other people got captured, and everybody scattered, and they end up going to Lunar to try and overthrow the queen and save the prince and save the world, essentially. It's too complicated for me to explain in this review. And it feels kind of like a Jackie Chan movie in that they get knocked down time after time after time. They are beaten and bloody and bruised. And there are definitely moments when I went, I have no idea how you get out of this, because I don't see the way out. You seem to be completely outgunned, outmanned. Want to make a Hamilton reference right there? Somehow, I know you'll prevail because this is a new adult or even YA romance, and you have to. And they do. I will say that at the end of this book, I felt really satisfied. I felt like every couple had a good ending that they worked for, that they earned, that they deserved, and that the results of this book felt good, which is not what you can say all the time at the end of a series, especially a fantasy series where there's so much going on, where there's so many threads that have to be woven together because they've been split apart. It's not always the case. And so for me to feel satisfied at the end of that behemoth of a book felt really good. If you like sci-fi fantasy, if you like new adult, if you like YA, if you like fairy tale retellings, this series is going to be for you. It is an investment of time. It is long books, and that's fine. I thought it was a really unique world, some really interesting magic and tech that was introduced in this story. It takes place around the globe. It takes place on the moon. There have been things said about Marissa Mayer's book and this story that because she brought in so many people from so many different parts of the world who don't necessarily look the same or love the same or do any of those things, how it was handled, I'm not going to disagree. I also have seen that she has grown in her telling of stories. So while some people have said this is a problematic series, I won't disagree. your feelings are your feelings, and I do see how at times this is a bit of a whitewash series, even though things are stated about how characters look and where they come from that certainly imply otherwise. But the fact that Marissa Mayer has since worked to make those things better and more diverse and more inclusive, I think is really the lesson that I want to take away from it as someone reading and writing, reading in the now. People have done problematic things. There are things that don't translate well into the future, but if we're willing to learn from them and grow from them, I think that's worth it. I overall enjoyed the series. Like I said about Wisteria, YA new adult, not always my thing, but I had a few friends who really recommended it to me, and once I started, I really knew I had to finish it. So I'm glad that I finished it. I'm glad that that's how I ended. This week, I felt so accomplished to closing that last page. I'm not gonna lie. It's so big. And if you've read that series, let me know in the comments what you thought. If you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to follow along and get updates for the next What I Read video. And until next time, this is Jayce holding space for you.